Welcome to the Engineering Seed podcast.
Did you do engineering at university, or you?
I did.
No.
I did a mechanical trade actually. So
Yeah. Okay.
I did journalism. Funny enough, like television journalism.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So I wanted to do the editing side. I wanted to be, do the football at the end, do the highlights, so you can get
Yeah.
the music with it. So I quite like the technical side.
Yeah.
And then I was just sort of, the money wasn't great, and I seen the OTE in recruitment was quite high. So I thought, well, I could do that. 120,000 a year OTE. I was on about £20,000 back in the UK. I thought I'd do it for 6 months, and I've been doing it now for 17 years. So at the time, I was doing more trades, and I wanted to try and understand how the trades operated. So I went to school and did a mechanical trade degree.
Right.
Because I thought maybe I'd get into that industry as well, but I just ended up staying in recruitment because I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Right. So did you move to Australia for the recruitment job?
Yeah, I worked with Hayes back in the UK.
Okay.
I actually was lucky enough to work with a couple of the guys that actually built Hayes from the ground up. So,
Wow.
So like Elliot Davis and James Leon, the people who were sort of right at the beginning, at the forefront of Hayes and what it is today. So for me, it was a bit more old school. It was turn your computer off and work through the phone book and a bit old school, sending out fax CVs and I think it was a lot more people driven, a lot more personal. We met everybody. We would go out. I think now and today everyone says it's all about relationships, but I think you can sort of hide a little bit away from it by just flicking out CVs or email based. I think we have started losing that people connection, and I think that's something that I think, especially after all this, is going to start coming back together because people are craving that now.
Yeah. So this is it Cranfield? That's where you're at now?
Yeah. So it actually from Cranfield University is where the names come from. So they're obviously quite good across mechanical, electrical, defence, renewable energy. So because we had quite a focus on those areas, we thought, it had a good ring to it. Plus, a lot of names were already gone by that stage. So
yeah. So is that you just came in as the director? Did you found it at all? Like, was it young when you started?
I set it up. So when I worked,
fantastic.
Yeah, I transferred over to Sydney, and then I worked for another company for a little while, and then I was learning how to sort of adapt to recruitment agency. I always wanted to run my own business, and I think when I went to another quite corporate organisation, Charterhouse, I felt I wanted to build something that was a bit more casual, had a bit more autonomy. You sort of treat them like an adult, where a bit more working from home. Obviously now it's a bit of a standard, but it wasn't back then. And I think for me, it was sort of just trying to reconnect with people again. I did feel it was getting a bit lost, and sort of bringing people on that were sort of quite dynamic and passionate about what they did. We work across the built and natural environment, so that's a lot of it is across the engineering space, mechanical, electrical, fire, across building services, renewable energy, project management, construction. Then renewable energy, environmental sort of science, and those sort of industries.
Yeah. So do you mainly deal with engineers, or is it trades as well?
Don't do trades actually, but we do a lot of engineering. Is probably a forefront of what we do. I done building services, so we just touched on before about a friend that's in that space. He's not looking for a job, is he? Actually, is
it? No, I think he's pretty set up.
So I think from us and that, in terms of building services, we've done a lot of work with like Arups over the years. So Arup's got a great, fantastic reputation, and we work with them across Australia, New Zealand, Dubai, Hong Kong. We've just placed some roles with them in Germany, in London. So we've sort of built up certain areas of their business, engineering-wise, globally for about 8 years now. Sort of.
That's awesome.
Personally, and that could be building services and civil and rail and road. And now there's obviously a bit more emphasis on that renewable energy and sustainability side as well, which is the carbon modeling, things like auditing, things like that.
Yeah. How many jobs are you turning around over a week?
Well, maybe at the moment it's a little bit.
Yeah. At the moment, it's
I think personally, working on between 50 and 70 roles a consultant. But I think how you sort of work that is, I mean, it's people driven. So I think if you really like working with a client or working with a business that you've worked with for years, you'll drop everything else and make sure that you're offering that service. And we do a lot of retained work and exclusive work. So we really sort of work hand in hand with clients these days.
yeah,
So we try and work on about 5 each, really. And then there's always so much happening in the background that maybe multiple roles can use if you come across someone that's good. So you sort of utilize them on different things. But I think at the moment, in where the market we're at, it is quite tough. So at the minute, we're more offering advice and working with clients and people that have been made redundant. We're helping them find work for free and just basically connecting people with people. Because but we've just got a role in just now, just before this, for a transport modeler in Sydney, and we've actually been doing a lot of work with a company in Europe called Mercury that do data centers. So obviously data centers is a massive space at the moment. It's you can imagine, like you touched on before, the electric cars and basically everything's going to be powered through data centers. They can't build them quick enough, and we're helping them fill roles in Frankfurt, in London, in Dublin and Paris. We've got a role in Paris currently. So, and that's something we're looking to focus on in Australia. It's a bit of a growth area here as well.
Yeah, and that's awesome. So it sounds like you do a lot of senior sort of roles usually.
Yes.
And building that expertise in an industry.
Yeah, I mean, I like to do all levels really. Anything from as a team, we sort of do anything from sort of engineer level. We help grads find roles. Anything to sort of CEO and MD. I think just because I've been in the industry a long time, I'm more connected with that executive side. Because people who have progressed maybe from engineer level are now in management roles. So you placed them maybe 7 years ago in a business, and now they're running a team. So it's sort of good to see that people you've worked with over the years are being appreciated and getting those leadership positions from university.
Are there sort of common things that you look for in candidates, or that maybe clients are looking for in candidates?
I think, I mean, it's all about just trying to put yourself forward in the best possible light. There is a lot of competition out there, for especially at the good businesses. And I think obviously the first protocol is your CV. So I mean, that's, making sure that's, there's no spelling mistakes or bad grammar. You'd be surprised how many CVs come through with terrible spelling mistakes, and we basically spot check them and make sure they're coordinated. They haven't updated where they've been working recently, or they've been focusing more on duties rather than achievements. They've got the incorrect information on there. It's poor formatted. Because people spend, I think it was about between 7 and 10 seconds on a CV, if less. I think a recruiter, probably in an industry like mine, we can probably look at a CV within 2 seconds and know if it's relevant for the right role, or and you can sort of miss out on good opportunities. And I think it's all about being proactive. I think if you see something is a perfect fit for you, is make sure that you call these people, or even now, like what we're doing is, video introductions, try and get that personality across. Because, and try and get noticed, because, you'd be surprised. I think you really do go right at the front of the queue if you follow up. Did you get my CV? Is there anything else you need, or any further information I can help with? Or even, like, as I say, a little video intro. I think these days maybe the cover letter is taking a bit of a side note, but I think maybe a video introduction is going with the new cover note, because it really does give the client an aspect of how you come across and how you look and what your passions and drivers are, away from a piece of paper with a bit of text on that's got experience. Especially in graduate level, it's very difficult to sort of say, highlight a good graduate CV, because you haven't really got much work experience. You haven't got anything that's relevant really for that business. I think the key is just trying to sell your enthusiasm. So I think maybe video introductions for graduates is big, and I think it really does go a long way for me and my team when we see people following up and really showing just a bit of ingenuity in some ways, you know, to
Yeah.
their role, and they're the ones that get them. And I find, looking back, the ones that made that little bit more effort are now the ones that are in those leadership positions. They're the ones that, you know, are really climbing up the ladder and making sure they get noticed. They're constantly testing, and they're constantly putting themselves out there to be noticed and make sure that they're, you know, being looked after in that business.
Yeah. Do you you know, nowadays with social media, do you ever sort of look through that, especially LinkedIn? Do you look at people's LinkedIn, and if so, do you look for certain things? Like, are you looking for activity or sort of engagement in that area, or an interest? Is there anything that you're sort of looking for in that space?
Yeah, social media these days is huge, and I think,
Yeah.
you know, if you're applying for jobs, everybody's going to check someone's Facebook. You know, straight away they're going to say, "Who is this guy? Is he out partying all the time? You know,
Yeah.
is he got some dodgy photos on there?" And
Yeah.
you know, that could be a year, 2 years ago, and he could be a totally different person now. But you know, you need to get those photos off, especially if they're visible on Twitter and Instagram. You know,
Yeah.
you make sure that these, you know, mainly they are professional photos. I think LinkedIn is normally for professional basis. So it's making sure that you interact with your networks. You know, you
Yep.
post on the groups that you're passionate about, the electrical engineering groups. I mean, those things get lost a little. You make sure there's so many good things on there, like webinars and tutorials, and posting news, you know, projects that have been won in the industry. Just making sure you're doing little things like yourself here and to get noticed, because it's a tough market, and I think the more you can stand out, the better chance you've got long term to really make an impact and a difference, you know, and make sure you land that job, you know.
Mm.
Social media is
Uh,
it's absolutely huge these days, and I think that's probably one of the key importance is making sure your social media is on point, you know.
do you find that, yeah, just even if you're posting yourself, like just trying to continue to put content out there, like, is that?
Yeah, I think anything that really sort of gets your voice and gets your name out there, and you know, and connecting with as many people as possible,
Yeah.
and you know, asking questions and checking in with people, and you know, if you want to get that job at WSP or, you know, Tesla, you know, you're making sure that you're speaking with the recruitment managers, you're checking in and you're connecting with them, because every time you raise a post, they see that post, you know, especially the recruitment team. You know, they're very active on there. There's people within that business that are very active.
Mhm.
If you connect with them and say, "Oh, I saw your post, really interesting," you know, something I'm really passionate about as well. I think, yeah, you'll stand so much ahead of everybody else if you do it that way, and that's the way it's going. It's all about being, you know, well networked, and
Yeah.
making sure that you know, you really sort of making an impact in getting your personal brand out there in many ways. Yeah.
Yeah. So if there are people listening that are maybe going through university now, you mentioned that data centers is a growth area in Australia. Are there other major sort of trends that you're starting to see in the industry that are going to be occurring over the next 5-10 years?
There's always sort of little hotspot areas. Electrical engineering is something that's always a bit of a demand, and no matter what side space you're in, across building services or you know, transport and infrastructure, project management, it's a good base degree where it's always in quite high demand, I think.
Yeah.
And if you're looking to break in certain industries, I mean, most are quite lucrative. I think, especially within engineering. Um, as I say, I've done a lot within building services, and if you get a good person who's comes across well, got some good skills, got a year or two under the belt, I think, you know, you can really climb the ladder fast. I find in certain industries like maybe fire engineering, I see data centers obviously getting involved with that. That's just a growth area within health, and infrastructure. It's obviously massive here. I've got a bit of a passion about renewable energy, so
Yep.
that's got to be a market, especially in Australia, that maybe until recent times has maybe not been at the forefront of government, but it has to be now. I think, especially with COVID and you know, 100 years ago, it was to get back into manufacturing and automation and make sure people were in mills, you know, just firing out and getting people back to work. Now it's got to be green, it's got to be clean energy, it's got to be looking about climate resilience, it's got to be, you know, making sure that we're actually having an impact, and I think with it, data centers go hand in hand, and within renewable energy, obviously the solar and the technology that goes with it is adapting and progressing all the time. Wind energy and hydrogen, and you know, so I think that's a bit of an area, and I think it'd be great. I think if people sort of get involved with that now, then it's only going to keep improving and more in demand sector for sure. There's skill shortage across Australia in every industry. I think there's a real lack of talent in Australia in general, in engineering, and I think they used to be more open about bringing more of the cultures in, but they are making it more difficult now to be sponsored in Australia. Obviously, I'm from England originally, so it is a lot more difficult to bring people from the US and Europe and places like that to really top up the talent here. So there's a real market for Australian engineering graduates, or graduates in general, that can really take on the market, because there's just a shortage across the board.
Yeah. Just going back to that intro video, what would you be expecting in an intro video?
I think it's difficult. It's sometimes, I think whoever you're targeting, try and look on their LinkedIn page, and see what posts they've been liking. If they've like to post about tennis, I think it sort of shows that you're well connected and you think outside the box a little bit. Say, Stephen, I notice you're quite into your tennis. I like to play tennis. And you have that initial interaction and go, look, and also I've spotted this post for an electrical engineer within building services. I feel like I've got these skills that can match. I'd really love a time to sort of find out a little bit more about this role. I'll try and call you on Wednesday at 4 to follow up. Make sure you receive my CV, and if there's any other further details you need, and I can apply references as well. But trying to be smiling and make sure you try and get your personality across and your enthusiasm is the key part, because you don't have to go on. It just needs to be a little snapshot. We did something similar, and we are sort of integrating a lot more video these days. I think especially with what's happened now, we had a graduate-based software actually that was trying to get people into recruitment, and it worked really well, because especially in sales roles, people need to see what these people are like. And in some instances, you can't really tell over a phone or on a CV. So the lift door opens, and it's not really the person you feel is the right fit for the team. So these days, video's massively important. You do get a lot of people that are just still uncomfortable in front of video. Even I am still a little bit more uncomfortable in front of a video. So it's definitely a growing sector, and it's something that's been around for 10 years. I mean, we've had this software for about 2 or 3 years, and we've never really done anything with it. And it's only really now that, with it, the inability to interact, that people are really jumping on this software because they have to. Will people go back to normal when this changes? Possibly, but I do feel that it really helps with the hiring process. The video, it sort of cuts time by 70%. So they say, because and with that, if you're adding a little video application with your CV to an employer or 2 jobs and trying to target it to that person or to that business, then you're probably putting yourself 30% at the top of that list. You're getting noticed. You stand above the others, and you're making sure that they're going to come and chat to you. Rather than just someone sending a piece of paper, not following up with a call and just hoping for the best is not really good enough these days. Especially with all the tech available. I think you really just have to, if you want that business, or if you want to work on that project, or you really want to sort of make a bit of an impact when you're in university, you've got to do those little things, and it doesn't take too much to really get noticed and connect with people.
Can you talk about I guess thinking about a major, like if someone's wanting to be hired by a major company, the value in either doing that through the proper means, through their sort of consistent hiring process, versus reaching out to maybe people in the company and asking for a job? Do you think one's better than the other?
Oh, I suppose using a recruiter as well, in some ways. I think what we find in terms of recruitment, I mean, our value adds a little bit more on people with experience, because obviously we charge a fee. So it's difficult for us to charge a fee with maybe a university graduate. It's not impossible. It's something we have helped many businesses with previously. But I do feel if you reach out to a recruiter that's in an industry they're quite passionate about, most will really help, give you the right leads. If they're not a graduate recruiter, but maybe they like myself, who focuses a little bit more on senior and executive within a business. If someone reached out to me, and anyone after this can reach out to me, of course, and I'm more than happy to help on sort of CVs and how to sort of attract and get noticed, for sure. With it, I think reach out to recruiters and just say, look, this is an industry I'm looking to get involved in. Do you know anybody in this space that may be looking currently, or any names that maybe I can follow up with directly? And I'm sure they'll give you 10 names of people that they've worked with that hire recruitment, or the right contacts. Because I think sometimes the first port of call is, I quite like getting in that business, but I don't see any jobs currently available that suit. So how do I go about it? Does that mean they're not actively looking? Do I wait? Or I think sometimes it's, if you can't find those names yourself, a lot of it is on LinkedIn. Those right contacts, maybe the head of electrical at Arups will be on there, or head of WSP, or whoever it is, will be on there. And I think it's easy enough then to work out their email and send them a little note directly and follow up a call, and get a bit of a list of maybe companies that you feel that, Tesla or whoever, you're passionate about and feel you want to work with, and give them a call and speak to them, send them a CV, send them a little video intro about why you feel like you'd be a good fit for that business. In many instances, though, recruiters, can help you get in there. And I think what our job is to really give you advice and support during the interview process. Make sure that, you're not getting underpaid. There's a few graduates that can go in quite low, and there could be like a $30,000 sort of gap in people going in at ground level in engineering businesses. I've seen some people get paid 50. I've seen some people get paid 80. So it's like, what's the difference between, they may have the same degree, but it's only because they've gone in at a better level. 70 or 75 at least, is something that, you need to be looking at. And I think some people are more willing to take just for the sake of taking it, rather than actually making sure that they're being looked after and actually being appreciated within a business around the right remuneration levels. So I think a recruiter can help you with that. He can help you get in touch, can help open the doors. In some instances, you can send it through the talent acquisition team or the HR department through their company email. And a lot of these get lost. I speak to a lot of people that send it on and never get a reply. It's because they just haven't got time to get back to it. Some of these are global businesses, and they get people from all over the world, and you can just get a little bit lost, that's all. So I think it's trying to have a bit more of a targeted approach, and if that's working with a recruiter to try and give you a bit more advice, or that's trying to contact them directly to make sure you do get noticed, and that's the key areas that I'd probably look towards someone trying to break into a business, is having a bit of a think. Who do I want to work for? Where do I see my career going long term? And sort of breaking that down, because or do you have other people that have worked? I think if you have friends that work for companies, obviously that's a great intro, because they'll be there, they can tell you what the business is like day to day, and they can sort of put your CV forward and say, look, I know this person, I think fit for the guys. So I mean, they're the key areas. Is I think referral based is normally always the best. If you know someone in a business and it's a business you work for, then that's the first port of call. And then second, I'd probably go to a recruiter and say, look, this is what I'm thinking. What's your advice? And most people are happy to offer advice. Been in the industry for a long time. We deal with these companies every day. So we're more than happy to try and help where we can, and make sure that we can, give you the best opportunity to get in these businesses and help build your career.
Yeah, one of my the first interview I had was actually with the Cochlear head of talent, and I was really surprised when he was like, recruiters are really, really favored when it comes to applications. So it's
just I mean, obviously in HR they've got so many other roles. A lot of it is working within the business and making improvements and working with people and making sure everyone's happy, and culture is a big part of being part of a company these days. It's probably the number one. So the actual recruitment aspect is sometimes lost. So it's only a small percentage these days for many.
Yeah.
So it's then difficult. That's why all these CVs can get lost. So I think with us, that's our priority is pretty much trying to help people find work and working with businesses to get the best outcomes. So I think that's why it's sometimes the best way to first port of call, because we can make sure. Hey, I don't know if you've missed Declan's details, but he's real passionate. He's got really good drive. He comes across well. We feel like he's got a bright future, how do you feel about just spending, half an hour, 40 minutes just meeting him and seeing what you guys think? I know he's a lot better than, the back of a queue of of someone's sort of talent team or job ad,
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for your time, Mark. I'll have to put the contact details to your company down below in the description. But just before we wrap up, I know you was talking about, I guess you've probably answered it, but just 3 key tips for people that are looking for jobs. What are your top 3 things, whether they are do's or don'ts?
All right. So I think make sure if you are sending a CV, there's no spelling mistakes. Make sure that all your information is relevant, and make sure it's the same on your LinkedIn. You've got no job gaps, and if you do, you've been traveling, make sure that's well known. And the second tip would be follow up. Make sure you. I think there's the 3 follows. So it's follow back, follow up, follow through. So make sure you follow back. Make sure you've got all those details in place. Follow up. Make sure you get in touch with the companies. Make sure you find out who the right contact is, and make sure you are getting notes with these little video intros. And then follow through would be then, if you're not hearing anything in a week or 2's time, get back in touch. Make sure that, you aren't going away, and why aren't you successful? How can you improve? And make sure you keep learning and make sure that you get those jobs. And, it's time goes by so quick. So I think it's always about putting your best foot forward. And, every industry we're all in is very small, is very niche. So it's building your career is important, and I think we all got to do it the right way. And networking is so important these days. So make sure that your personal brand is as best it can be. Yeah.
And just lastly on that follow up, follow through, I guess a lot of people would just flick out their resume and not really do anything about it, just waiting for a reply. Would you have like a percentage on the number of people that have actually attained a career, a job through following up, compared to just flicking it off and waiting for a reply?
I think at least you got an 85% chance of getting that interview by following up. Most people don't. Most people think, I've sent it over. If they like me, they'll get in touch. But the thing is, they might think, he's got a good CV. They put it down. More and more come through. The people that do follow up are the ones that get noticed, and then you're left a little bit lost. And you're thinking, why don't I even get a reply? The thing is, because you haven't shown as much enthusiasm as maybe a couple of others. And to be fair, not enough people do it. I mean, I know even when I'm hiring, and a thank you. And if you do get that interviews, make sure you do a little thank you follow up. And that's very rare. I think I only see. I encourage people to do it through myself, is do the follow up interviews, because that just again reinforces. I really enjoyed meeting you. Thank you for your time. I really feel like I'm good for this business because of this and this. What are the next steps? Look forward to hearing from you. And honestly, if you can do the follow up and then you follow through with something like a little follow up email after that interview, I think the job's yours, Declan.
Yeah. I remember listening to Marc Randolph, one of the co-founders of Netflix, and he was being interviewed and said that a job that he was going for, which he was not, he did not have the background for. There was he got down to the last 3 applicants, and he got a no, and he went back to the office, and he found out later that they said no to every single one of them and wanted them to actually go back and follow it up, and so he ended up getting it.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I think as well, like if you feel like you're not a good fit for a job, and actually males are more likely to go, I can probably do that job, rather than women in engineering. They're a little bit more confident. They've got to see that they've taken every box in a job spec or an advert. Whereas I think Richard Branson always says, go for the job you feel like you want to attain, and then learn the on-the-job skills once you get that job. Basically, I mean, I'm going a bit around the houses there, but I think it's you'd be surprised what you can achieve by taking that leap of faith, and being confident in yourself and in your abilities, because I think confidence is a key part of getting this job these days. And even though you're not very confident, it's trying to assume that confidence.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for your time, Mark. This has been great.
No, thank you, Declan. I appreciate that, and it was good to chat today.
Yeah. Cheers. All right. Catch you later.
Cheers.